Welcome back to Noka Media, your source for Northern Ontario homegrown media content.
Is Sudbury doing enough for the homeless? Advocates have been asking for more support at Energy Court and other warming centers. Monday night, one individual was found dead. A tent fire occurred, and while bystanders were able to put it out using snow, they then discovered the deceased person inside the tent. Advocates have been asking for bylaws to be suspended and for the city to allow the burning of fires in the controlled bins, as well as other safer sources like propane heaters. Unfortunately, the fire department comes by multiple times per day and puts out any fire that's in their controlled bin by drowning it. And they've also been removing propane tanks and propane heaters out of fear that they would cause a fire. This unfortunately forces some of the homeless to use improvised heating device like candles or other open flames inside their tents.
Be in it. Just taking a
We
video.
finally get wood to burn, and this is what happens. Fuck's sakes.
Because they didn't get to do their gay calendar this year.
The warming centers are constantly overflowing, and requests have been made for additional support, like a city bus, which could help handle the overflow. The warming centers also close for a few hours twice per day. Requests to speak with the mayor, but have not received a call back. We recently made a request to schedule an appointment and are awaiting a call. We also left voicemails for many of the city councillors who have never called back, but we were able to speak to one councillor, Mike Paher. We're going to play that phone call now.
Oh, hello, Mike. I was expecting a voicemail, to be honest. It's nice to see a person answering their phone. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm trying to gather some support for other people here. So my name is Mike as well, Houle, Houle.
Okay.
I represent Noka, and I'm also working with a whole bunch of homelessness outreach groups right now. What we've been trying to do over the last few days, I've been calling everyone all over, is we're trying to get additional emergency response out at Energy Court during these extreme cold weathers. Coincidentally, while I was doing this, we ended up getting an emergency response. We have video of fire, police, and ambulance showing up in Energy Court because a lady collapsed in line while waiting to get into that warming center. So things we've been looking at, like there's two different approaches here. One would be appropriation of resources. There's been calls for maybe a city bus or opening an arena or a building. There's even things like we could call out the army to set up tents, man. Somebody's going to die out there soon. And then on the other end, which is the angle that I'm going for mostly, if we could get suspension of certain bylaws during these extreme cold weathers, it would make a big difference. Like I'm being told that they can't burn open fires before 6 p.m. I'm being told that firewood, fire pits, propane heaters, propane tanks are being removed. They're not allowed to have skids or any kind of wooden platforms as a base to lift their tents off the ground. You know, so now we have volunteers, we have people from the community who are willing to go drop off a load of firewood and are willing to drop off, you know, fire pits, burn pits, and all this stuff. The issue we have is we expect those to get picked up within the day. You know what I mean? Like we can go drop off a week's worth of firewood there, but the city will come take it away, just like they'll come take away the burn pits. We've even had volunteers volunteer to drop off campers, sea-can containers, build temporary shelters and all these things. But the bylaws prevent us from doing any of that. You know, so one end, the city could appropriate resources to help out. On the other end, if the bylaws just got out of our way, the community could do much more to help out as well.
Yeah. So lots to unpack there, Mike. I was actually in touch with senior staff yesterday because of the extreme cold and my concerns with persons who are unhoused. And you know, what they shared was they had, the one of the GMs suggested he had actually checked in, and we didn't have a capacity issue. That it was within their what they could accommodate, I guess.
And did they tell you what kind of
and
checking they did? Because I'm a journalist and I've been working on this story since before Christmas, and I've been publishing these videos. I've been showing the clear overflow during the entire holiday. So if someone's saying there's not a capacity issue, they're turning a blind eye to the issue, or they took too small of a sample. They showed up at one specific time during the day where it wasn't so bad and there wasn't a lineup. But around the clock, it's not like that. We have the proof of it. We've been making it all public.
Yeah, some stuff makes it back to us, others stuff does not, right? And for me, we set up as the board of directors for the city, we try to set up policies and support and the resources to make sure that, all services are delivered the way they're intended to be. And this is one of those services, except it's a little bit closer home because we're dealing with people and the impact on people. So I've been putting more attention on this for those reasons. And what you're sharing with me is a little bit different than what I received yesterday, is by way of update. If you have, if you can email me some additional information, I'll certainly follow up, because that's the last thing I want. Now, I did even inquire about that specific incident yesterday, and what was shared with me is that the individual that collapsed was treated for an overdose, that being in the elements didn't play a
there's
role.
no doubt that, other factors could apply, but having been there waiting in line is not a factor that helps either. You know what I mean? If that person would have been properly sheltered and he did not have to be exposed to those elements waiting in line, it may not have occurred. On the other hand, it could have also occurred in a place where nobody saw her. So there's a lot going on there as well, right? Like I don't put any liability on the city for that whatsoever.
Yeah, and the other part, the liability for the city, is the city-owned property, so the city has a duty of care to know, or ought to have known, of anything that could happen that could impact others. So if a fire did get out of control, the city would be liable. No ifs, ands, or buts. So that's how bylaws are formed. It really is about trying to balance.
I understand
the ability
that.
to get something done, like keep people warm, and
that's also why I'm
happening.
pushing for just a temporary suspension during the extreme cold weather. Right? It's not meant to be a whole like, all right, let's allow them to burn out of control fires 24/7 whenever they want. Just more like, all right, we've got emergency cold weather for the next 3 days, so we're going to suspend this bylaw, that bylaw, and allow them to stay warm and survive for that time only.
Yeah, and that I will look into that. Again, I'm not sure a bylaw could be suspended without a council meeting, and a council meeting has to be posted. It's not something you can say we can do tomorrow. It doesn't work like that.
Agreed. I've also been saying that to the homeless outreach groups. Like, some of them are yelling and asking for an immediate response, and I'm like, well, guys, when we're talking, even if you're talking appropriation of resources and all that, so there's gonna need to be some kind of council approval. So I'm not looking for you to get off and get this done today. You know what I mean? I'm mainly like reaching out, jumping some support so that we can get something done for the next emergency cold weather, because we're just getting started.
Yep, that's fair. Yeah, and before the holidays, we had a community emergency services committee, which I'm vice chair, and I specifically, before the meeting ended, in public, when an opening, asked about these things. How do we feel about this? We're going to the colder weather, knowing holidays, and there was a level of assurance provided by staff that they had what they needed to get through some of the worst case scenarios. They didn't need more from council. So for me, I was trying to make sure we had that in place before everybody went on holidays, if you will, or went to spend time with their families during the vacation, that we're still making sure we're provided, that staff had the authority to do what needs to be done. They had the resources, and so I'm not saying what you're suggesting isn't an area we should explore, but I'm getting kind of warned on this, publications that council don't care, we're cruel, we're cold. None of that is true. We're trying to help manage this as well, and we're really looking at the long game. Is how do we end this? Meaning, how do we create the infrastructure, put in the infrastructure that people don't become homeless?
That's going to require.
There will be a place for them to go.
That's a hell of a road. It requires temporary transitional housing and all the mental health care and support to go with it.
Exactly.
But yeah, I can definitely tell that you're doing work. I mean, honestly, I'm not calling you at random. I was directed to you as you being one of the councillors who is actually advocating for more support on this homelessness stuff. So I could tell that it seems like you're trying to keep up to date. You know, it could be really hard where I see this all over, not just in Sudbury. There's kind of this disconnect going on, right? Where it seems like city staff somehow evaluated and believed that they were good off, but there doesn't seem to have been any input from the actual outreach support workers that are out there in the front lines. Because I've been monitoring this, like I said, when was Every Voice Matters? Was it December 18th? I mean, we're going on at least 2-3 weeks that I've been monitoring the situation. And in those 2-3 weeks, I've easily identified the overflow practically all the time. You know what I mean? Like I say, there might be a small sample size where there might be a time where you go there and it's not so bad. But from what we see and the evidence that we have, I go out there at any time and it's bad. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I'm nitpicking trying to find that worst moment. To me, this appears to be very bad at all times. But I will send you an email.
From this year,
I'll send you an email.
I think the difference, Mike, is I think in previous years there wasn't a sanctioned encampment, meaning
they were spread out all over.
Spread out all over. That's right. So I'm not sure the situation was better last year, but I think maybe...
Let's be honest, I have mixed feelings about Energy Court too. It's like we have to give them a space, we have to... And it's easier to monitor them, but it also creates that tent city. You know what I mean? Like that's now is basically by design. We sent them all there rather than them being spread out. There's goods and bads to everything, but at the end of the day, we have to be able to help. And Energy Court's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, there are more solutions coming. It's working, try not to bankrupt the property tax owner on this, and come up with solutions. Solutions are coming within a couple of months. I think we'll be able to continue to work on finding more spaces for people to live, to be housed, and very importantly, is if somebody becomes unhoused, to get them off the street as quickly as possible. And there's a higher prospect of them, being able to live on their own quick before they spend too much time on the street and adopt new.
I guess you're right there, where there's a lot of work that could be done preemptively too. Like there's a lot of lack in housing, which leads to them ending up on the street to begin with. I see that. Well, honestly, you seem to be on the ball, Mike.
Put there, it's just I know it's not quick enough. Yeah, and I committed to a resident yesterday that I would meet with Eva and Ali. I haven't reached out to them, but I will be reaching out to them to meet with them next week and have a conversation with them to learn a little bit more.
All right. It seems that this is at least on your mind. It's not something that you're ignoring, and that's a good sign.
I was on it yesterday, and I contacted people when they were technically off as well to try and make sure that we're doing all the things that need to be done, or they have all of the the support, the resources needed to be able to make sure we take care of the individuals impacted. And I will follow up again, I assure you that.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Okay. And have a great day.
Thank you for the call, and best to you in 2026.
Same to you.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you have a story or event you would like to see featured on this channel, just send us an email at nocaudits@gmail.com.